Hey guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video today, we're going to talk about a couple of things that I feel are must-haves for any digital nomad or freelancer who travels regularly. I feel like some of these things will hopefully help you out if you are new to this or if you are starting to travel a lot more for your work. I think that some of these are kind of those must-have items that can really help you out, and they're not always something that you think about initially to purchase either. Now, I wouldn't go so far as to call myself a digital nomad. I'm not quite at that level. However, I do travel quite a lot for work, so I think that these tips or these things that I'm going to talk about today can really apply to anyone who travels for work, regardless of whether you own your own business, if you're a freelancer, or whether you're a digital nomad, or even if you're working for a company that you just get to travel a lot for. Some of these items are really must-haves because I think that this has been trial and error for me when I've been traveling before, and now these are kind of the things that I can't do without. So without further rambling, let's get into the video and talk about a couple of things that I feel are really must-have items for any person who travels regularly for work. So number one, and this is really coming from a digital creator's perspective, from a photographer, is to have a hard drive case. Now, for most of us, when we're traveling for work, we will have hard drives. Some people might use USBs, but for most digital creators who have quite a lot of content that they need to be working on, hard drives are the way to go. One item that I would never skimp out on again would be a hard drive case. And it is not always something that you immediately think of getting for a hard drive. Like for some of us, we might, but for a lot of people, they don't always think of that initially. And when you actually start to travel, you realize that quite often bags or backpacks or like even laptop cases don't always have a hard case area for a hard drive to go into, and most of them don't. So it's actually something that's really important to think about. If you want to protect your data, if you want to protect the content that you have on these hard drives, I highly recommend getting a hard drive case. Now, this has happened before where I've taken my hard drives traveling, and unfortunately they have been knocked or something's happened to them. They have been floating around in a bag a bit too much, and unfortunately I've gotten them back home only to find that my content is no longer available and I can't access the hard drive. Something's gone wrong with it. It's been bumped in the wrong area or too hard. And unfortunately, if that happens, quite often you will be spending thousands of dollars to get that data back through a data recovery system or a data recovery expert. And I don't want anyone to have to go through that pain and heartache, because I've seen friends who have had to go through the same thing as photographers when they've lost data. And really, it is so important to protect that data while you're traveling. Obviously, have as many backups as you can possibly have at home as well of that data, so it's not your only backup that you'll have. But I do think it's really important to protect your hard drive while you're traveling anyway, so it's definitely something that I would consider buying. Now, number two could really be considered more of a personal preference, I guess. But for me, it infuriates me to not have this one thing anymore when I'm traveling for work. And that is a small portable mouse, preferably wireless and without a cord. This is something that I can't do without anymore. When I'm traveling with my laptop, I can't stand using the trackpad. I just can't. I think I'm just so used to using things like a graphics tablet, which I actually do have a small graphics tablet that I use when I'm traveling. It's much smaller than my regular Wacom that I use. But having a mouse is so helpful for if you really don't like using your trackpad. And personally, I just can't stand it. I think when you've got a high workload too, and if you're traveling, there's nothing worse than trying to kind of like use your fingers on the trackpad all the time when you're trying to do things quickly, and it feels a very slow process. Now, as I said, this is something that is a little bit more of a personal preference. You may prefer to use your trackpad, and that's completely fine. But for those of us who get really frustrated using a trackpad, I definitely recommend bringing a mouse along with you. I think it's a really great thing to have just in case. And the last thing that I really think is a must-have for any person who is traveling regularly for work is a good backpack. And I can't stress this enough. Now, having a good backpack can really affect how the weight is distributed on your back too. So I think that it's something to really consider that's a good ergonomic fit for you. So something that fits really nicely onto your back, that is comfortable to wear, that is also lightweight. I can't stress that enough, that is lightweight. It's not too heavy, because if you've got heavy equipment like photographers do, for example, or filmmakers, for example, as well, that's heavy stuff that you're going to be putting in that bag. So obviously it needs to hold that well, but not be too heavy in itself, because you're really just adding extra weight there. Having a good backpack is really something that is going to be very personalized. So it's going to be dependent on your situation, what kind of work you're traveling for, and what you need it for. For photographers in particular, I really find that it's so important to have something that can obviously protect your lenses and your camera well, but also have that slip for a laptop if you're traveling with your laptop as well, because I hate having to have all of my things in different bags. It stresses me out so much. So I really like having everything in one bag. Laptop, mouse, hard drives, something that has the space for everything there really is ideal, I think, for photographers for most of the time. But as I said, it is more of a personalized thing, and it is more of a personal preference as to what you want and like in a backpack. All I would say is get something that is very comfortable for your back, that you know you can walk around with all day or travel with all day if you need to. And just something that you can kind of put everything you need to in the one bag, because that's when it can get really messy. If everything's across like 3 or 4 different bags, it can just get quite frustrating. So I personally prefer to do it that way, but each to their own. Okay guys, well I hope this video really helped you out if you are looking at doing more travel for work, and hopefully if you haven't considered some of these things, hopefully this will be on your list now of things to consider, because it's definitely something that I've learned from experience. It's really important to have each of the things that I've mentioned today. Admittedly, as I said, personal preference. Some people may not value these things as much as I do, but I really think that they are must-haves for anyone who is looking at traveling very regularly for work. If you liked this video today, guys, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, make sure that you do. I'll be posting a lot more content on freelancing and business and everything around those subjects very soon. Let me know in the comment section below what your must-haves are for traveling for work, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.